Imagine you are standing in a sunlit, opulent office, looking at one of the most successful businessmen in the city. A group of students surrounds him, looking for the one insight that built his empire. We tend to assume that wealth at this scale is the result of a complex financial maneuver, a guarded trade secret, or a hidden advantage that the rest of us simply haven't discovered yet. But Ramesh tells them something far less exciting. He points to a mechanical system of repeatable behaviors, suggesting that the complexity people look for is often a distraction from the habits that actually do the work. To understand the origin of those habits, we have to look at where Ramesh started, a rural village far removed from this office, defined by a level of poverty that left no room for error. His father was a day laborer, his mother cleaned houses. Their survival depended on grueling physical work just to secure 2 basic meals. Ramesh began with 0 inherited capital and no network to lean on. Escaping that level of scarcity is a process of systematic, deliberate cultivation. It is less about finding a shortcut and more about the mechanical application of specific character traits. The catalyst for change arrived through the words of a visiting merchant who claimed that skill and labor were the only reliable ways to move up. To a boy watching his parents struggle for every meal, this wasn't just advice, it was a map. Ramesh realized that if he couldn't change his circumstances, he had to change the only thing he controlled, his own time. He began a rigorous daily schedule, waking up hours before the village was active to study and take on chores for neighbors. This wasn't a sudden burst of inspiration, but a desperate, calculated attempt to squeeze value out of every waking hour. Earning the money was only the first step. Ramesh adopted a strict rule for his tiny income. He suppressed the urge to consume. While others bought small comforts or snacks, he saved every single coin, treating his savings as a non-negotiable debt to his future self. If we map out those years, this accumulation chart shows the result. We see a slow, agonizingly steady buildup of micro-savings. Eventually, the line crosses this threshold, the point where Ramesh finally had enough to purchase his first batch of fruit for the market. This discipline acts as the primary engine for wealth. It is the behavioral mechanism that physically converts raw human time into measurable equity. Setting up that first enterprise meant entering a brutal arena. Ramesh wheeled his bare-bones fruit cart into a sprawling marketplace, dominated by massive, established stalls that made his operation look insignificant. The early returns were discouragingly low. He worked exhausting hours for profits that amounted to mere pennies, providing almost no immediate reward for his effort. Beyond the thin margins, he faced active social resistance. Villagers mocked him, laughing at the discrepancy between his tiny cart and his vocal ambitions of success. Ramesh protected his progress by viewing his current status as a necessary starting point. He told himself, "Today I am small, but tomorrow I will be great," treating the mockery as noise that had no impact on his trajectory. This resilience functions as a critical protective shield. It prevents a fragile, early-stage business from collapsing under the weight of social pressure and the lack of immediate gratification. Eventually, he hit a ceiling. Manual labor and saving pennies can only take a person so far because there is a hard limit to how many hours one can work. To break through, Ramesh turned to curiosity. He began studying business books and seeking out new operational methods, looking for ways to make his money work harder than he could. That applied knowledge allowed him to move from a street cart to a permanent shop. This flowchart models the reinvestment loop. The central shop generates profit, which is split. A small fraction goes to savings. The larger portion loops back into the business. Reinvesting those earnings systematically expanded his footprint, multiplying one storefront into 3 distinct locations. Curiosity and reinvestment create the multiplier effect. This is the phase where behavioral traits transition a business from linear growth into exponential scaling. The physical manifestation of this compounding success was the construction of a beautiful, secure home for his aging parents. For his mother, the sight of that home was the final proof that the cycle of generational poverty had finally been broken. Back in the sunlit office, Ramesh looks at the students, who are now beginning to see the logic behind his journey. He makes it clear that the shops, bank accounts, and the house are merely the byproducts of the process. They are the visible evidence of the journey, not the source of the success. Real wealth is an internal asset class. It is the forged character traits of discipline, resilience, and curiosity, assets that compound over time and can never be taken away.